Welcome to Getting It On with James and Heather. I'm Heather Dahlman.
And I'm James Guay, and we are dishing out sex, love, and relationship advice.
Without all the sexual snobbery.
Yeah, I don't need that.
No.
Think you're codependent?
Speaking of, I want to know, because I called you like 3 times yesterday. You didn't respond, and then I texted you. You still didn't respond. I went by your office, and I was just trying to find out if you wanted soup, and it was just so ridiculous.
Oh my gosh,
No.
Heather.
What?
Like, slow down, chill. We're talking about like codependency here. I know you want to take care of my needs, but really?
I know, but it just made me so neurotic because I kept thinking, like, are you ignoring me? And then I wasn't sure. And so then I just kept texting.
I think I need a little like independence, a little space. You're kind of crouching on my space here.
Okay. So
illustrating codependency just a little bit, one aspect of it.
That
right?
was a dramatization of codependency. So yeah, we're going to check out codependency versus healthy relationships. Believe it or not, there are healthy relationships out there.
Right. And there are certain aspects of codependency that can also be healthy-ish. We're also going to be taking a look at attachment styles, right?
Yes.
And particular ones that are a little easier to have healthy relationships and ones that are a little bit more difficult.
Exactly. And so, let's get into understanding just briefly the difference between or understanding what is codependent and also understanding what it means to be attached, because I think everyone's under this sort of myth, and I can't tell you how many times I hear from clients or I've been out on dates and somebody would be like, I just don't want anybody who's, codependent, or I don't want to be in a codependent relationship, or a client will be like, they're just so codependent. That word is used like toilet paper. I mean, it just keeps rolling and coming out, and everybody uses it for the same thing.
Well, and it can be a little confusing because it's like everyone uses it as a descriptor for anything that seems like dysfunctional, right? If you have needs, if you express them more than someone's comfort level, well, automatically you're a codependent.
It
right?
reminds me of, whenever you would get a cut or a burn, my mom would be like, did you put Neosporin on that? And I was like, well, are you sure Neosporin? I mean, I just stubbed my toe. Neosporin was used for everything, and people use codependency for everything.
All right, I can see the connection there. Now.
Yes, that was how it could. sometimes he has a hard time following my thoughts.
Like, wait, Neosporin, codependency.
I'm just saying, because you said it's used
totally
for everything.
I'm just teasing you.
Anyway, codependency actually came from the AA movement, Alcoholics Anonymous, and really it was about. They used to say it was just the addict's fault, but then there was also, being addicted to the substance, but then it was also the enablers around the addict. So it wasn't just about the issue of the addict having a problem with a substance, but the people, the friends, the family that supported and enabled that addiction to the substance is where the word codependency actually started to take root.
Right, yeah, there were groups, not just like Alcoholics Anonymous, but Codependents Anonymous, where it really took a look at the enabling behaviors and how someone sort of supported the system of alcohol misuse or abuse or dependency. Right?
Exactly.
So it's, again, I think it's one of those things where there can also be kind of like a healthy dependence, a healthy sort of connection. What we're talking about when we talk about codependency, it's an over empathizing with someone else at your own expense. It's actually like focusing too much on the other person's needs and sometimes not even recognizing our own needs relationally, right?
Yes. I mean, the desire to help somebody is a good thing as long as you're not sacrificing the self too much.
Right.
And, today codependency has become such a pop culture term, as we were sort of teasing in the beginning, especially when we started looking in psychotherapy at dysfunctional families, which I have yet to meet a non-dysfunctional family, but I guess there are varying degrees.
Probably in our line of work as well. We see our fair share.
So, when you're looking at codependent and, worried, am I in a codependent relationship? I think the things to start asking yourself are, am I giving so much that I've lost myself?
Right.
Sometimes codependency is the lost self, they like to call it.
Well, and sometimes that even looks like I don't know what my own thoughts or feelings or needs or physical sensations are. It can be that extreme where it is the person is so focused on everyone else around them, that there's no sort of intimacy with ourselves, right?
Yes, and you find yourself often in a role, if you're the codependent type, not the one receiving the codependency, you're the rescuer, the supporter, the enabler, you like to be in the position of the confidant, everybody trusts you. You know, your desire is just to make another feel good, but really underneath it, the codependent is actually trying to satisfy their own needs.
Yeah, so for example, it can be that if I just provide all the adequate needs for this person, let's say a partner, then they can then be there for me in the same ways, right? So it's sometimes unconscious, where we're trying to meet everybody else's needs, so then we finally get some airtime, right?
Yes.
So we're showing people what we'd like to receive some of the time.
Because what happens is when you're in a codependent relationship, and you've lost yourself essentially because you're so busy supporting, enabling, and rescuing, which does satiate an anxiety that you would have as a codependent person. It starts to create a lot of intensity in relationships. It creates instability in relationships. You wind up becoming very controlling. There's often a denial of this behavior. And the reason I think that denial is there is because, again, the codependent person has an underlying sense of angst, right? And a low self-esteem under that. And so it's like needing to satiate that need, whether the other person wants your help or not.
Right.
Right?
So, you know, with any of these kinds of labels or identities, I think it's important to sort of hold it lightly and look at the behaviors. What are the behaviors that are getting in the way of deeper, reciprocal kinds of intimate relationships, whether they're friendships, coworkers, family, partnerships, or otherwise, right? What are you doing that's preventing you from fully actualizing a three-dimensional reciprocal relationship?
Exactly. And you know, that would also, you know, there's a passive aggressive type of behavior that can also occur in these relationships. So James is right. You know, if you suspect that this may be you in the in the multiple dynamics of relationships, because this doesn't just happen in our romantic lives, as James was mentioning, you know, maybe start to question things and ask yourselves. But we'll talk about how you overcome some of these things in a little bit and some of the solutions.
Well, and one of the pairings with codependents, a lot of codependents actually find people to take care of that need their help and support, and one of those people sometimes is someone that has narcissistic personality disorder, right? The pairing of a codependent with a narcissist is perfect because the codependent meets that narcissistic need,
which is insatiable.
Exactly. And just keeps giving. And, you know, in some ways, again, it can be a lack of self-love, a self-worth, of recognizing that you deserve to have reciprocation, to get your needs met some of the time as well. So it can be a lack of love, self-love.
And the other thing is that a codependent also finds themselves in relationships with people who are broken, not just with things like narcissistic personality disorder, but people who are often find themselves in victimized, you know, perpetual victim states. And what is that called? I think it's the dependable personality disorder. I think it is in the
dependent personality disorder.
Yes, dependent personality disorder is what this is known as in the DSM. But yes, so remember that if you're going, oh man, am I codependent? Take a look at your relationships. If you find yourself constantly feeding narcissistic needs, if you find yourself constantly taking care of broken wings,
if you feel like you're more worthy of a relationship by giving to the relationship, and it's difficult to actually receive and take in
these
and
could
absorb,
all be signs.
These could be signs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at something like codependent, you know, I said to James, we should really look at, you know, attachment styles. You know, Dr. Amir Levine's book, Attached, has been really popular these days, and it's been quoted in books. And I'm a big fan of attachment styles, which came out of the developmental psychology world. Yeah,
it was John Bowlby who sort of originated these concepts, and Mary Ainsworth who sort of continued to develop them. And it's interesting. I'm going to nerd out a little bit.
No, please. I'm a big fan of attachment theory, which is what he's about to get into. And it talks about how we, and I just want to say before you get into the history so people understand the reference, attachment styles in theory theories, show how we get attached in our romantic relationships based upon what this man's about to tell you.
So Mary developed this experiment called the strange situation, right?
That's strange.
Exactly. Where there was a room and a caregiver, a parent, typically the mother, would bring in the baby, the infant, into this room. There's a set of toys, and then she'd leave, and then a stranger would come into the room, and they measured the physiological response of that infant or baby, and also observed, their physiological response, right? And then the stranger would leave and the caretaker would come back. They measured, they observed, they looked at all this stuff, and they came up with 3 different
Actually,
sort of
4.
Well, initially
right?
3 different attachment styles. The 4th came around.
You're like,
later.
Actually.
So
Did you see me get metaphorically whipped with that pointer finger?
That was good.
Actually.
So what they noticed was that there were some infants, some children that, were really, really upset when the parent left, right? When the mother left, and had a difficult time self-regulating, self-soothing. It's just
were they like, don't talk to me, don't talk to me?
There were some like that as well, right?
Okay.
So that's a different attachment style. That's a little bit of the avoidant, right?
Were they like,
attachment style. That's anxiety, anxious attachment
Were they
style.
like, oh, you're here?
Right. Secure attachment.
What'd you think of that?
Good.
Yeah, it was pretty good, right?
Pretty good.
That was the dramatization again.
That's her forte. I try, but...
Flashback dramatization. Oh.
So shall we talk about secure attachment first?
Yes. So just to get you all the way up to date, Hazan, or was it Hassam? No, Hazan and Shaver did a love quiz in the late 80s where they took these beautiful attachment styles that James just told you the history of, and they applied it to romantic relationships, and they gave everybody this like love quiz. And they realized that in our romantic relationships, people form different attachment styles based upon what those developmental needs were back in the day that he was just telling you about. But they also discovered that these early patterns, they shape our attachment styles in our romantic relationships, but they don't determine them, meaning you can change it.
Right.
And that's really important to know. So secure attachment is, hey, I'm independent, but I like you.
All right. It's what, in psychological terms, we sometimes refer to as interdependency, right? That we each have the need for independence and autonomy, and we each have the need for connection and togetherness, right? That's the middle ground there, is that, yeah, we can miss someone when they're gone, but we also still hold them inside of us to some extent. And
when they come back, we're done missing them. It's over. Yeah. Let's be in the present moment and enjoy it. So it's this healthy balance.
Right?
Oh, are you massaging me?
I am. Oh, they can't see it. I'm touching her leg.
Yeah, but it just looks like maybe you're spinning or something. So yeah, secure attachment is exactly that, a balance between autonomy and interdependence.
Right.
Of course, anxious attachment is our codependent relationship, which we just were talking to you guys about. You know, the high level, the intensity, the anxiety, that even when the person comes back, there's still a, you know, are you going to go, and when are you going, and when are you coming back? So that's the codependent relationship and the codependent person.
That might be the kind of relationship where someone wants pretty 24/7 constant contact, needs a lot of contact throughout the day. Otherwise, they get really activated, right? If their partner sort of ventures off or does anything autonomously with friends or work or whatever else, it can bring up that kind of level of anxiety of like, are they still around? Do they still want to be with me? Am I still valued? Those kinds of things, right?
And then we have dismissive or avoidant types, which is sort of a cha-cha. I call it the cha-cha, the people that are ambivalent or mixed feelings about being in emotional or intimate relationships. They want it, but they don't necessarily know what to do with the emotions. And so they're constantly in this cha-cha, or like, oh yeah, no, you know, it doesn't bother me. You know, yeah, go do what you need to do. And of course it does bother them.
Right. Inside, the heart still palpitating.
Or the knots in the stomach or something. But they're more of an avoidant or dismissive attachment style. And then, the fourth one that I was mentioning earlier, which came much later, as James had mentioned, is the fearful avoidant, because what they noticed is that some people, and they still have the avoidant qualities, which is they feel uncomfortable expressing emotions, but those people who are fearful avoidant, their emotions, like the babies really wanted to cry and be upset, and so they really had to struggle to keep these emotions down, where an avoidant wouldn't necessarily. And so that would be the fourth type, which is that they're really feeling, the feelings become so overwhelmed that they'll flee. So those are your attachment styles, and codependency, of course, fits in the anxious attachment.
Right, and I want to make one point here too, which is that with any of these frameworks, I think it's important to hold it lightly, right? It doesn't mean that we all sort of just are in one category for the rest of our lives. Like you said, it's an imprint,
it's shifting.
Right? And they've also shown some research, we can put the article below in the comment section here, but they've shown some research where a child or an adult can have an attachment style that's different with one person than another, with one parent, with someone else. It could be context dependent. There could be a cultural component to this that's different from culture to culture. So again, it's a helpful framework in terms of looking at relationship styles and ways to sort of feel more stable and secure, but also have enough adventure and passion and nuance. It's finding that right balance.
Exactly. So, assuming that you're in a codependent relationship, or you think you're codependent, or that maybe your attachment style is a little unhealthy, what do you do? And James and I have some suggestions that we give our clients, and we're going to give to you. And the first thing would be to learn how to do healthy assertiveness. Right?
Yeah, this is about first being able to even recognize what our needs are. In order to recognize our needs, we need to know about our thoughts, our feelings, our body sensations that sometimes indicate what you need, right?
That would be awareness.
Yeah.
So what James is talking about is another one of our suggestions, which is awareness. And awareness is probably even better before healthy assertiveness.
Number one, awareness. Number two, asserting your needs, right?
Asserting your needs. And then also a healthy sense of empathy, and that's especially for our anxious attachments and our codependence, which you guys are in those same categories. So yes, awareness, healthy assertiveness, and then healthy empathy.
And by healthy, we mean empathy is about both understanding and caring about someone else's experience, right? But it's also about healthy empathy with ourselves, right? So we can't sort of dismiss one for the other. We need a combination of both there. That everyone's needs is important, and nobody's needs is going to get met 24/7, right? That we need to compromise, that we need to meet someone else's needs some of the time, they need to meet our needs some of the time, and we get to ask for that.
Better known as boundaries.
Hello.
Yes, agreed. Build your self-worth, right? So you've become aware, you're learning how to assert yourself and empathize in a healthy way. This will ultimately lead to what you need to do, which is what you are doing if you do those things, which is building your self-worth and self-esteem.
Right, and again, this is recognizing that you're worthy of having your own thoughts and feelings and experiences, your own truth, and being able to express that with others.
Exactly.
Number 5 is the ability, with all this information, to practice self-soothing techniques. So if you're noticing, oh, that feels good, I feel soothed. Sometimes it's a matter of literally like rubbing ourselves on the chest or comforting ourselves. It can be about putting on calming music and be about getting some exercise, going outside. It can be about self-soothing when we're having anxiety or we're feeling rejected or we're missing someone or those kinds of things, to be able to sort of self-validate, right? That we're like, oh, okay, it's fine that we're feeling this way. You don't need to judge it. You can be mindful and curious and compassionate and learn how to sort of self-regulate those different emotional states.
Great. And don't forget your social support system.
Yeah, definitely need to spread it out, right? To get those needs met, not just from one person, but multiple people, because no one person can meet our needs 100% of the time.
Exactly. So thank you so much.
Yes. Do give us a call. Our phone number is 310-845-6095. Ask your questions, anything, a comment about the episode today or prior episodes, and we might even air it on one of our shows. And
maybe if they're lucky, you can come on one of our shows.
I know, right?
You can also email us at info, is it? Info
it's hosts at thejamesandheathershow.com.
He's the technical one of us, just so you know. I am like, he'll tell me something technical, and then 3 weeks later, I'm like, what?
Right.
What was that again? What's that password again? He's like, didn't you write it down? I'm like, yeah, but I couldn't get into my password lock.
All right. Speaking of technology, we're going to be doing Facebook Live episodes as well as a follow-up to these episodes. So our next one is this coming Wednesday at 2:30.
All right.
Right?
I hope so. We have failed miserably at doing Facebook Live. I'm going to be dead honest, but we're going to try it again.
Right.
And we're just having, for the technical genius, because I already know I'm a technical dum-dum, we've had some trouble.
Yeah.
But I know
We're working it out.
Mr. Muscles can figure it out. Did you see these muscles?
What does muscle have to do with technology?
A lot. It gets the finger moving.
Oh, okay. Well, look at this muscle then.
Thank you so much. Check us out on Twitter at JamesHeatherSHO. Bye.
Bye.